I'm Bob Bruce, and tonight, along with Rod Treingard, who have the play-by-play, and Trevor Eisenman, who'll be giving us a soccer analysis of the action tonight. We'll have all of the action for you. And this is a game in which the Minnesota Kicks are going for their 8th straight win. And Rod, earlier today, there were some problems. This game was almost not played tonight.
That's right, Bob. There was a thunderstorm that hit here in the Tulsa area, very much similar to the storm that hit in the Twin Cities today, and as late as 3 o'clock this afternoon. We weren't for sure if this game was going to be in, but the field is in good condition. It's a tartan surface, much akin to what used to be at the University of Minnesota. It's dried out, and both teams are ready to play.
Trevor, the dimensions of this field aren't exactly suited to the game of soccer. It's a little bit smaller, I think.
Yes, that's true, Bob. It's not just the dimensions. The sidelines are in 3 or 4 yards, and that doesn't give a fast-moving time as much space to maneuver. The other thing is that this tartan surface that they had at Memorial Stadium, was it, Rod? The ball moves a lot faster. It'll spin crazily. Consequently, you're going to see a lot of fast soccer and perhaps a lot of out-of-bounds soccer tonight.
Some of the players will have to change their form of play, have to play maybe a little further back from the play.
Well, it's not that. It's the passing. What will happen is that the players won't be able to play as far ahead in the open space as they used to doing on a green.
Okay, we'll be ready for soccer action between the Minnesota Kicks and the Tulsa Roughnecks right after this.
Next, they are third in the National Conference Central Division with 43 points and a mark of 5 and 6. In goal will be number 1, Colin Bolton. He's out of Britain with a goals against average of 1.11. He has 4 shutouts on the year. The defenders, number 2, Mickey Barker from England. Number 25, Vladimir Jasic from Yugoslavia, who was just signed by the Roughnecks yesterday. Also number 3, Stojan Nikolic of Yugoslavia, and number 15, Alex Koterek of the U.S. You may remember him last year having played with the Chicago Sting. 2 midfielders for the Roughnecks, number 4, Dan O'Riordan from Ireland, and number 18, Victor Moreland from Britain. And their 4 forwards, number 7, Jimmy Redfern from Britain, number 12, Billy Caskey, their leading scorer. He has 4 goals and 3 assists on the year, also from Britain. Number 19, a rookie from the U.S. and Temple University, Billy Sauter, 3 goals and no assists. And number 9, Nino Zetz, 2 goals and 6 assists from Yugoslavia. And here's the starting lineup for the Minnesota Kicks, who go for a piece of history tonight. In goal is Jeff Barnett, number 1. His goals against average is 1.14. He has 1 shutout on the year. The back line of defense, as we're just about ready to roll. Number 2, Bruce Twomley from Canada. Number 5, Steve Litt from England. Number 3, 23 that is, 21 of England. And number 3, Paul Price. Price and Twomley are the outside fullbacks. Litton want the inside halfbacks. The midfielders, number 20, Timmy Twellman out of St. Louis. Alan Merrick, the man of iron, starting his 66th game for the Kicks. From England, he's number 6, and number 11, Ace Netsolenkwe from South Africa, and we're underway. The forwards for the Kicks, number 15, Chico Hamilton. Number 9, Alan Willey, who has 10 goals and no assists on the year, the Kicks' leading scorer. And number 18, Ron Fletcher. Ron starting his 2nd game in a row tonight. He started in Tampa on Wednesday evening, where they beat the Buccaneers on a score, or the Tampa Bay Rowdies, rather, the Buccaneers in a different league and a different type of football, on a score of 3-2. Not dressed tonight are Charlie George. Also not dressed, Alan West, who is back in the Twin Cities and watching this one with us. And Alan, we hope that you enjoy it as much as we hope to enjoy it. As play is in the Tulsa Roughneck end, and we're going to have a throw-in coming up for Tulsa, as we're just into tonight's match here at Skelly Stadium in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is a turf very similar to the turf that used to be at the University of Minnesota. The free kick from number 3, and that's Stojan Nikolic. O'Riordan at midfield, playing it ahead for Caskey. Back near center, Redfern was number 7. Here's a chip shot and a header back by number 2, Twomley from Minnesota, controlled by Steve Litt, number 5. Now Timmy Twellman. Scoring pass for Chico Hamilton, who tries to get it ahead to Twellman, but it's across the touchline, and a throw-in coming here for the Roughnecks. No score in our match. Tulsa in bright red uniforms with white numerals. The Kicks in their road baby blue trousers and white jerseys.
Rod, you may want to mention that it's the yellow lines that you should be watching. There are all kinds of markings on the field, but it's the yellow ones that we're playing with tonight.
There are football markings on this field, as you can see there, 30-yard line, 40-yard line. University of Tulsa plays on this field. Steve Litt plays it back to Jeff Barnett. And the kicks will start again. No score in our match. We're just underway. Rod Treingard along with Bob Bruce and Trevor Eisman here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as the kicks go for number 8. They've won 7 straight. They lost their first 3 on the year and have been unbeaten since. And the big game is coming up on Monday afternoon at Metropolitan Stadium, and we'll talk more about that in just a few moments. It's the Roughnecks with the ball. The pass came from Mickey Barker, deflected by the Twins' Twellman. By the kicks, Twellman off to Chico Hamilton. Paul Price, number 3, Netzolenque with the ball now. Moving down the right wing. Slants towards center, has it deflected, and it's across the goal line, and we will have...
Yep, he's awarded a corner kick.
A corner coming up for Minnesota, so we will not take a break right now. At the corner is Chico Hamilton. Ian Chico Hamilton.
It's going to be a long kick, Rod, because there are no men up there for the short.
15, Chico Hamilton.
It's going to swing into the goal. There's a little bit of a wind, I think, going in that direction, too. So it should swing in quite a bit.
Here it comes.
Too close to the goalkeeper.
Punched out by Bolton. Banged back in by Moreland. Controlled by the Roughnecks. Headed by Twomley. Twomley again. And it's across the touchline. We will have a Tulsa throw-in. Television rights to this Minnesota Kick soccer game are the exclusive property of KSTP Sports, Hubbard Broadcasting, and no broadcast or reproduction of this NASL game is permitted without the express written permission of the Minnesota Kicks Soccer Club. Kicks with the ball.
Ace looked as though he missed the ball that time, but he didn't. He knew that that Hamilton was behind him.
Hamilton's cross, headed back by the Roughnecks. Here's Netzolenque attempting a volley. A whistle and a foul has been called against the Roughnecks. We will have a free kick from the spot of the foul. You see Captain Alan Merrick putting the ball on the field.
Direct free kick, and the referee is moving the players back 10 yards.
And, of course, the difference here being that the kicks can score off of this direct free kick. They cannot score off the kick on an indirect free. Merrick. Netzolenque.
Oh, it's a beauty. Son of a gun.
Goal kick coming up for the Roughnecks. That was a very well set up play, Trevor.
Yes, it was. And good thing about it is that Ace kept the ball. Okay, you'll notice that Ace kept the ball along the ground, and that's the most difficult kind of shot there is for a goalkeeper to handle. One that they in England they call a daisy cutter. That goes right along the surface of the ground. Extremely difficult.
The Roughnecks moving with Jimmy Redfern on the wing, marked by Twomley, sliding tackle Twomley, tipped by Twomley over to Steve Litt, and now Tony Want, number 23, back on the back line of defense, has it up to Futcher. Merrick's cross to Willie, and Allen can't hold it. There is a throw-in coming up for Tulsa.
You're going to see an awful lot of throw-ins tonight, Rod, because of the width of the field. It's a very small field.
Also,
a hard driving shot by Caskey, their leading scorers, over the goal, and we will have a goal kick coming up for Minnesota. There's no score in this match, and we'll return to action right after this.
Go, Tulsa! Remember, this is a replay.
Yeah.
Futcher has just banged one home with an assist to go to Chico Hamilton, and the Kicks have taken a 1-0 lead as a mistake was made by the Tulsa Roughnecks, and it cost them dearly. We'll take a look at it again on instant replay.
We can see Futcher has been on the bench for quite a while because of Charlie George. He gets back in the ball game. Chico's great at setting up goals just like that with a perfect pass, and all it took was a little bit of a touch to get it back into the net.
Yeah, that was definitely a lapse in the defense on the part of the Tulsa team. Little miscommunication there.
So it's 1-0 in favor of your Minnesota Kicks. One assist certain to go to Hamilton. The goal goes to Futcher. It is Ron's second goal of the season. He has 2 assists to go along with that.
I can't help but think that The white line running parallel with the touch line is going to confuse the players somewhat on occasion. But perhaps they're smarter than I am, and they'll realize that they're supposed to be playing with the yellow ones.
The Roughnecks down 1-0. Fletcher takes the ball at midfield. Now it's Coleman. Back it goes to Tony Want for Ellen Merrick. The head nod around Fletcher. Scoring pass. Netzelenque tips it back for Paul Price. Ahead for Alan Willey. Now the line that you see the ball flirting with is the out-of-bounds line for American football. The touch line that the ball just went across is a yellow line over there that you can just so barely see on your screen.
Yeah, the kicks right now, they're playing a perfect 3-4-3 offense, and the midfielders are controlling the ball pretty well. I'd say, Rod, that the strategy that Tulsa is trying to do is to rattle us. They're trying to move the ball quickly, and I think they're trying to get a quick goal, obviously, as everyone always does.
Well, this is a dangerous part of the game as far as the Minnesota kicks are concerned. They have scored, and the 5 minutes following a goal is when you are most vulnerable to be scored upon, because you have somewhat of a natural letdown. Hopefully the kicks will not let down. This is Redfern on the run. Twellman foot racing him. Redfern, number 7 for Tulsa.
Good block by Twellman.
You know, Roger was speaking about the goal coming right after the Minnesota Kicks have scored a goal. That happened just the other night in Tampa, and it happened at the Met just a couple of weeks ago.
Unable to control the pass is Caskey, and we will have a Minnesota goal kick coming up from Jeff Barnett. Jeffrey coming into this game with a goals against average of 1.14. He has 1 shutout on the year. Both keepers are clad from head to foot.
A great way to get to know the Roughnecks.
There was a reason for that, the reason being the abrasive surface, and they're much more subject to burns about their legs and about their arms because they go flying rather quickly left and or right on a moment's notice, and they both want to stay away from that. So consequently, they are wearing the long sleeve shirts and the long playing trousers. Volley kick by the Roughnecks, and the ball is across the touchline. That was Freddie Goodwin that you saw over on the sideline playing at the Netzelenque. And Ace has it in. Again, it's across the touchline as it's knocked out of bounds by Zetz. Nino Zetz. He spells his name Z-E-C. It's pronounced like a Z-E-T-S or Z-E-C-Z or what?
The referee called a handball there. I didn't see it myself, and I think Merrick is kind of surprised.
It's 1-0 here in favor of Minnesota. We're going to be right back. Minnesota throw-in coming up. Ron Futcher is on the side, but Twombly will come over and take it for the kicks instead as Futcher moves downfield. This is Twombly right in the center of your screen. Number 2. Bruce Twombly out of Canada. A volley kick from Skoteric, one of their outstanding defenders. Whistle is called. Juan Pinto, the referee here this evening. Violation has been called against Minnesota.
Something interesting there, Rod, is that my coach always told me when I was learning soccer, there's always one man that's unmarked at a throw-in, and that's the guy that's throwing the ball. After he's thrown it, he's unmarked. And I noticed that Tulsa are close marking the thrower, so that as soon as he gets rid of the ball, there's a man right on top of him.
Zetz took the free kick for the Roughnecks, and Nikolic had the attempted shot that was deflected by one of the kicks, and a corner kick now coming up. Number 7 on your screen is Redfern. Jimmy Redfern out of Britain. Setting it up. Punched out by Barnett.
Great play by Barnett.
Headed back in by the Roughnecks. Another header.
Oh, super play by Barnett.
That was Caskey just missing the shot.
He made 2 great plays there. Watch on the corner kick how he punches it out. There it goes. And now he just manages to get back and tip it over. That's the safest thing to do, is put it over that crossbar. If he tries to catch it, he may lose his balance and fall back into the net with the ball in his hands. That's why they make those plays.
Redfern on the far side for the corner.
Barnett's playing well out.
Boot. Jumping header by Moreland is up over the goal, and we'll have a Minnesota goal kick. 1-0. Minnesota leads this match on a goal by Ron Futcher with 8 minutes and 40 seconds gone of the first period.
Personally, on those corner kicks, I'd like to see Barnett a little more on his goal line and playing out like he is. If the ball swings in, he's going to catch him unawares if he's not careful.
There's Jeffrey's long boot just over the head of Ron Futcher. Running it down, Barker.
Oh, there's a corner.
And we'll come up with a corner kick here as Bolton was unable to control the ball from Barker. And number 15 for Minnesota, Chico Hamilton, will be taking the corner kick.
Old faithful Willie was in there like a little terrier dog, bothering the heck out of that goalkeeper.
You see Hamilton, Futcher, and Willie are right in that goal box. Here comes Chico. Willie just missing it. It was over his head and knocked out by Jasic, but controlled by Hamilton. Deflection by O'Riordan, controlled by Netzelenque. Bolton taking that cross from Netzelenque as Willie and Futcher were both there, but Bolton hung on.
That was a super save by Bolton.
Excellent play, considering the fact that he has a bad ankle. He has an injured ankle, so he's probably not at 100%.
Yeah, he was a doubtful starter tonight, Bruce.
One thing about these Roughnecks, they want to win, and they want one in the worst way here tonight for many, many reasons. Just number one, for the sake of winning, but number two, they've lost their last 3 in a row. And whereas the kicks have come...
Oh, there's a mistake.
4 is O'Riordan. We'll tell you about the Roughnecks, more about their situation in a moment. Okay, we have a throw-in coming up. We can continue the story. In the Kicks' last 3 games, they've come up with a maximum of 9 points in each of the 3 games. In the Roughnecks' last 3, they have been shut out. In other words, zilch. And the last time was Wednesday night, 3-0 they lost at Rochester. They've had some trades, some new acquisitions. They'd like to turn things around, and they'd like to do it here tonight and halt this Minnesota Kicks 7-game string. This is Redfern, marked by Tony Want, and the ball will continue to belong to the Roughnecks.
That was a good play by Twelman. He continued to run with the with number 7, Redfern, even though Redfern had him beaten. And what they try and do is, these pros, they're very quick at picking out which is the weaker foot of their opponent, the man they're marking, and they'll constantly keep the ball on the weaker foot.
Heavy action in front of the goal. Scissor by Steve Litt. And finally, the ball is driven downfield. Willie trying to get in front of it, but jumping right in front of him was number 21, Jasic. And once again, things are rather safe for the Roughnecks.
And no matter where you see the ball go, you can always count on Alan Willie to be in position. He's always in that open area, and on this field, there aren't that many open areas because of the width of the field.
One of the knacks of a good athlete, of being in the right place at the right time. 20, Twelman can't control it. Throw in Tulsa. Skoteric is there. Alex Skoteric, who was the captain the last 3 seasons for the Chicago Sting, but followed Coach Bill Folks here to Tulsa.
That has to go back to the goalkeeper.
Ball tipped back toward Barnett. Barnett
good
punches
play
it
by
out.
Barnett.
And an excellent play, Barnett. He will probably have a corner kick coming at him here, but that's a heck of a lot better than the situation that was coming up and presenting itself right in front of him.
I think it was a throw-in.
Depends on if the ball went across the goal line or the touch line as to whether it's a throw-in or a corner.
I think it was a throw-in, Rod.
It will be a throw-in.
Usually the referee, you'll notice the referee will run down towards the goal when it's going to be a corner kick, and he's staying out near the corner.
Sauter on the throw-in. Off the thigh of Steve Litt. Ball caroms high in the air, upfield, again across the touchline, again a throw-in for Tulsa. On the throw-in will be Skoteric. It's 1-0 here in favor of Minnesota. We may have an interference call here on Tony Want, or else it's going to be a goal kick for Minnesota. It's going to be interference.
That's a direct free kick. Actually, the call that is for pushing him. If it had been an obstruction call, it would be indirect, but this is a direct free kick. Luckily, it's outside of the penalty area by what? 2 yards, otherwise it would have been a penalty kick.
And Redfern, number 7, is there. Hamilton and Twelman are in front of him.
They're all getting ready to run forward onto that ball. See, they're all way back. It's a... Oh!
The bar saved the Minnesota Kicks. There is a scissor by Nikolic, and it is up over the goal. And for all that work by Tulsa, the Roughnecks come up with nothing.
Watch how the Roughnecks are hanging back, and they run forward onto this ball, and we're very lucky here not to have a goal scored against us. Very well played by Tulsa.
Very lucky for Jeff Barnett, too, because the crossbar there saved him. And you'll see that they really get a couple of very good chances here as it bounces off, back past Jeff. And then they get another kick that almost goes in, almost a super play.
That was a great scissor kick.
Back to live action at midfield. It's Netzelenque for Minnesota. The ball tipped by O'Riordan, controlled by Minnesota's Alan Merrick. Now taken back by the Roughnecks, back for Minnesota, and it's Merrick. A crossing pass for number 15, Chico Hamilton. Hamilton moving past Redfern. Hamilton keeps on going. It's tipped out by NASL. Here is Merrick. The side for Paul Price, number 3, chipping a long shot. And nobody can catch up with it. We'll have a goal kick coming up for the Roughnecks. It's Minnesota 1, Tulsa nothing. We'll return to action right after this. Minnesota with a lead over Tulsa. The goal for the Minnesota Kicks, Ron Futcher, his second of the year from Chico Hamilton. And for Chico Hamilton, by the way, who is playing stronger with each and every game, Chico now has 4 assists on the season, 2 goals and 4 assists.
Rod, starting to see a little bit more physical play, which is what we thought we might see, because Tulsa is not as skilled a team as the Minnesota Kicks. They're going to try to rattle the Kicks up a little bit, and this smaller field favors the Tulsa Roughnecks. And you might see a few little cheap plays, a few little pushing right there on Ace NASL. He got a little bit of a push from behind, and it'll probably get more and more as the game progresses.
Free kick for Minnesota. Merrick will take it. Here it is. He has it ahead for Alan Willie. Alan got too much under the shot, and another goal kick will come up in this game for Bolton and the Tulsa Roughnecks. Colin Bolton out of Derby County in England. The same team that produces the Kicks, Ron Webster, and this has to be a frustrating year for Ron. He hasn't played yet, and Charlie George.
What happens is that when Willie we call that first timing. When he first times the ball like that, you've got to keep your head over it and your knee well over it. If you sit back, you'll balloon the ball, which is what Willie did. They try and keep the ball low. It's difficult to do.
To the back line of defense for Minnesota, and Bruce Twomley has it back to Jeff Barnett. Paul Price waits. Now Tony Want, number 23. Excellent play. Back for Want. Deflected by Redfern. Merrick comes up, and we may have a high kicking or a dangerous play foul. We do against Alan Merrick, and a free kick coming up for the Roughnecks.
Alan might have been serving notice there.
You don't mess around with Alan Merrick. A nice chip by Zetz, who went after his own chip, but the ball was volley kicked out, and we'll have a throw-in coming up for the Tulsa Roughnecks, and it's going to be Scutera to take it. Alex Scutera.
Although you can't see it too well on camera, the Tulsa are actually using a sweeper. That means that they have a defender that's, it's an extra defender that's sweeping behind or in front of the defense line, hoping to pick up a stray pass. This sweeper can be very effective if he's very good at it.
Pass was behind Chico Hamilton, the throw-in for Tulsa. 1-0. Minnesota leads in this match here from Tulsa, Oklahoma. A hard pass across the field. Redfern does control it. Back for O'Riordan. One of the midfielders. O'Riordan moves it ahead. Alan Merrick approaches him. And a foul has been called once again against Alan Merrick. Free kick coming up for the Roughnecks.
Bit of a different tackle. You notice that Alan didn't go all the way down. He's thinking a little bit about that turf, because if you go down, it really burns the body a little bad.
Don O'Riordan, number 4, will take this free kick. Here it comes. He chips it inside, deflected by Price for NASL. Controlled here is Moreland. Moreland on the left wing. Crossing pass. Kasky is there. Barnett saves.
That was great wall play by Tulsa out there on the left side.
Got a replay coming up of Jeff in goal as Tulsa brought the ball down. He's trying to get that goal, and it comes through, and Jeff came across and made a super play. Ace is trying to clear the ball out there. He couldn't quite get it out, and it comes across here, and he just gets a hand on it right there, and it really saved him.
That was about 6 inches over the head of Billy Kasky, who could have had goal number 5. Stoppage in play. Injured player for the Minnesota Kicks, UC number 9, Alan Willie. And we're going to return to action right after this.
Injured Minnesota players, number 9, Alan Willie.
Trainer Gary Smith, along with Kicks players Alan Merrick and Steve Litt are there, but Alan Willie is okay. I was talking with Steve Litt on the bus ride here to the stadium, and we were wondering about a possible letdown of this club, who has played so well and played extremely well. An excellent match, one of their best, maybe they'll be the best of the year at Tampa on Wednesday evening, and Steve is saying, hey, I feel fine. I think everybody feels fine. And let's hope that that's the case. They're ahead here 1-0. Play is at midfield. Jumping header, Moreland. Litt is there to tip it for Minnesota and to tip it again. He almost goes down. Sliding tackle for Caskey, and Litt does go down. And we have a violation called against Caskey, number 12, or is it against Litt? No, it's against Caskey. Free kick, Minnesota.
He tripped him definitely.
Want to Merrick, back to want. Now ahead for Willie. A thigh trap. 12 and 20. Merrick 6. His pass is a bit off the mark. Nikolic makes the play for Jasic. Vladimir Jasic, who just signed yesterday with the Roughnecks. He is from Yugoslavia, and he is number 21. Minnesota throw-in will come from Ace Netzelenque. The man who saw alongside Ace in the red slacks is Coach Freddie Goodwin. Ace's throw-in pass is downfield, a bit past Alan Willie. Ron Putcher just reaches up and grabs the ball, and of course that's a handball violation, and Ron says, hey, I don't know.
Well,
slightly obvious, just
I
a little
need
bit
more
obvious.
playing time.
All he's saying is I couldn't get my head up there. I can reach up high with my hands.
Oh, a running header by Tony Want. Down goes Billy Sauter.
Not afraid to mix it up, I'll tell you for sure. Tony really jumped in there on that one.
Tony is a very aggressive ball player, and he isn't going to take anything from anybody. He learned a very valuable lesson along that line in Chicago, where he was ejected from the game on a red card and then had to sit out one for retaliating. And it's the guy who retaliates who's going to get caught.
You know, for a team that hasn't scored in the last 3 games, they put some pressure on Jeff Barnett. They're starting to get a few shots. A little bit hungry.
I'm sure Coach Bill Falks and his assistant Charlie Mitchell, who is also one of the players for the Roughnecks, have talked long, loud, and hard about how important this match is. And they are trailing right now 1-0. The kick's goal from Ron Putcher.
That's a great cross. Barnett's got it covered. I guess I have to contradict myself there. When the ball goes into the goalkeeper's hands like that, it isn't really a great cross, although it looked good for a second up here. But a ball that's centered correctly or crossed should have a goalkeeper indecisive, and that one didn't, of course.
It was a great cross for Jeff because it went into his hands.
Yeah, that's right.
Header back for Zetz. But it's back to Twombly, who tips it back to Barnett. The Kicks are trying to make short, crisp passes here tonight. Nothing of the really, really long variety. And to play as error-free soccer as possible. Long boot by Barnett down to Putcher. But with protection, Nikolic in front of Bolton. And the ball went back to Colin Bolton very, very easily. There you see Ron Putcher in front of Colin.
Bolton is what you'd call a goalkeeper's goalkeeper. He goes through life without making mistakes.
Caskey at midfield. Skoteric in his own end, coming to the center line, or what would be the 50-yard line in an American football game. Merrick breaks up the play for Minnesota. Now to
pass by Putcher.
Here's Chico Hamilton. Chico on the move, and his cross, his shot is deflected by Bolton. Then it's off the post.
Beautiful play.
And we will have a corner kick coming up for Minnesota. Or maybe Bolton didn't get a hand on it. We could have ourselves a goal kick, and that's what it's going to be. Look at it again. Now, goal kick coming up for Tulsa. Minnesota is in front of this match 1-0, and we're going to return to action right after this. Tonight's Minnesota Kicks Tulsa Roughnecks match coming to you from Skelly Stadium in Tulsa, Oklahoma on KSTP TV, Channel 5, Minneapolis-St. Paul. Rod Trongard along with Bob Bruce and Trevor Eisman with the call of the kicks. And Minnesota has the ball. This is Price. This is Futcher. It's for Alan Willie. Willie again, looking to get it turned around. Finally, it is deflected and the Roughnecks come out. Play at midfield for Nikolic. A long crossing pass, jumping header by Want. Out comes Barnett, and Barnett beats Sauter to the ball, but just so barely.
There's a little pushing, actually, on back to the playing a penalty. A little pushing there, Rod, on Willie. I'm surprised that the referee didn't do something with that one. But then referees go through life surprising me, so.
For a referee, a former referee, saying that about another referee, I don't know if I can really understand that or not. But I'll accept it, Trevor. Whistle on the field. Violation against Minnesota's Alan Merrick, his third of the game, and a free kick coming up for Nikolic. Number 4. Correction, O'Riordan is number 4. Nikolic is number 3. Chest trap. Caskey, number 12. His pass is taken by Hamilton, who raced to the center to get it. Sliding tackle, tipped away by Litt, over to Tim Twellman. Minnesota controlling play in their own end. Barnett with the toss to the side and Paul Price, number 3. 1-0 is the score of this match. Now the play is to Chico Hamilton. We're midway in the first half. Butcher marked by Nikolic, fouled by Nikolic. Nikolic apparently got an elbow in the pit of the stomach.
And of course, Mr. Futcher is not one to walk away from a little bit of a confrontation. He was kicked a little bit there, and you saw him kind of pedal his feet. I wish we had that on a replay, but he did possibly maybe push him a little bit too much. But that's one way of getting respect from that individual player, so possibly the next time he comes down with the ball, he may think twice about Futcher if he's in front of him.
We have a free kick coming up for Minnesota. 1-0 is the score for the Kicks. We're going to be right back. Tipped across the touchline by Moreland. Throw in again, Minnesota. Merrick is there, so is Price. Alan Merrick will make the throw in for the Kicks, who play Monday afternoon back at the Met. They're looking for the millionth fan there today. They're that game, and they should get it. Chico Hamilton off a scramble, has it on the wing. His crossing pass for Futcher, but out comes Bolton and boots it back downfield. Down went Caskey.
Another physical. Another physical play.
And that was Sauter. Play getting just a little bit rough. There you see Caskey, number 12, and there you see Sauter, 19, just running through your picture. In Monday's game, by the way, against the Washington Diplomats back at the Met. Starts at 3:05. The Kicks expect to go over the 1 million mark in total attendance, and a crowd exceeding 22,368 would push that total home attendance figure up over the 1 million mark. Of the 34 total home games to date that the Kicks have played in their history, they've averaged 28,754 per. So be part of the million mark on Monday afternoon. Redfern at the corner.
Yeah, that was an attack there by Tulsa, and actually the Tulsa player, if the ball had gone through, was in an offside position. So I don't think anything would have come of it.
Barnett getting a piece of it. Volley kick out by Twomley. As Barnett was out of position, but Twomley was there to make the play for Minnesota. And at midfield, Twellman goes down as he's pushed by Yasic.
Yeah, I hate to say that this is one of I told you so's, but I'd like to see Barnett stay back on that line. If you recall a little earlier, I was saying I think he's playing out too much, and there was a prime example.
And it's so crucial that once Jeff gets his hands on it to control the ball, which he didn't that time, and it gave him a second shot on the rebound. And if it hadn't been for Bruce Twomley, there would have been problems. The game would have been tied.
Absolutely. It was right. Twomley cleared it off the goal line.
I think objectively we would have to say that Tulsa has had excellent opportunity to score 2, possibly 3 goals here tonight. But Minnesota leads it 1-0. The long shot, which is wide, was taken by O'Riordan, number 4.
Possibly another thing to consider is Tulsa, because they haven't scored a goal in so long, might be a little anxious if they get that open shot and may rush the shot a little bit, which can cause a lot of problems.
They're going to push, and they're going to push hard, for sure. Redfern, number 7. again to take the corner kick for the Roughnecks, who are trailing in this match 1-0.
I guess what happened there was that the referee thought it was a corner and signaled as such, but he went out to converse with the linesman, and it was the linesman's call, and the linesman told the referee always makes the decisions in this game, but he went out and spoke to the linesman, who said it was a goal kick, and the referee accepted his decision. So
in other words, Barnett did not touch the shot of O'Riordan. Thus the goal kick, which is to Futcher. Back over Futcher's head. Skoteric, volley boot to midfield. Jumping header by Moreland. A volley kick by Price to Netzelenque. Merrick collides with one of the Roughnecks, controls the ball, back to Price. And all the way back to Jeff Barnett. "13 minutes, 49 seconds remaining in the first half. 1-0 Minnesota in the lead in this match between the Roughnecks and the Kicks. There's a high boot by Barker that could go across the touchline and does, and Minnesota will take the throw in.
It's just occurred to me that after we win tonight and then win again on Monday, the millionth fan will see the record broken.
Twellman on the throw-in for Willie to Twellman. Drives it back. Blocked by Skoteric. Here is Twomley missing a pass at the ball. Fired out by Jasic. Picked up by Zetz. Ahead for Kasky. Tipped across the touchline by Steve Litt, and we'll have a throw-in for Tulsa. Monday afternoon, 3:05. The Kicks in Washington Diplomats. From the throw-in, Barnett came out to capture the toss.
Long throw by Barker.
Extremely strong.
Very long throw. When they throw the ball, you know, they have to have their feet on the ground. That's what makes it difficult to throw.
So far, in 4 games at the Met this season, the Kicks have drawn 111,931 fans. And they need 22,368 on Monday afternoon to hit 1 million. Twomley, number 2 for the Kicks. To center, Merrick. His pass is blocked, but it goes back to Want. Now ahead for Twellman over his head. And a foul called against Twellman of Minnesota, and a free kick coming up for the Roughnecks. Foul was called on Twellman against Nikolic. The spot of the foul is, in football, American football terminology, the 25-yard line. Barker drives it downfield. Jumping header missed by Litt. Paul Price comes over. The Roughnecks, Kasky with the ball. Turned around by Price. Back to Redfern. Redfern, number 7, gets past Twomley, crossing. There's Netzelenque. Throw-in coming up for Tulsa. Kasky. Want marks Kasky. Back comes Kasky, number 12. His cross, Barnett saves. Or controls it, I guess maybe a better word for it. It's 1-0 here for the Minnesota Kicks. We're going to return to action right after this.
Good play there by Price to head that ball out.
Minnesota 1, Tulsa nothing. And the Kicks drive it back to midfield. But there is Barker. His long pass is all the way across the field and across the touchline. Did one of the Kicks touch it along the way? No.
There's an indication there how that ball skids on this tartan turf as opposed to at the Met. That ball would have stayed in play.
Paul Price on the far side, back to Barnett. Our next televised game will be in Seattle. We'll tell you more about that a bit later on. Jumping header by Nikolic. The control by Barker. But Willie comes over and deflects it. Barker gets it back. Volleys downfield, but there's Netzelenque. The ace chips it for Tim Twellman with a foot trap. Back for Netzelenque. Deflection by Nikolic or O'Riordan. It's O'Riordan. Now to center. Here is Caskey. Billy Caskey. Redfern crosses in front of him. Gets in position. Ball goes through the box. Here's a cross as the shot was taken by Zetz, but it goes into the side of the goal, and we'll have a Minnesota goal kick.
Might want to mention, Rod, that at halftime, we're going to have a very fascinating guest, Ian Greaves, who just came over from England. He'll be talking about some of the action. Like right here, here's a replay of what just happened as Tulsa comes down. They get a good move going, and the pass goes across, tries to center it right here. But it just rolls past. They get one shot at it, but he's a little bit too far into the goal. But at halftime, we'll be talking to Ian Greaves, one of the top managers of English football, and he'll be talking about the differences between English football and American soccer, which are quite fascinating.
It's a fascinating visit we were able to have with him this afternoon while we were all sweating out whether this game was going to be played or not. For those of you who are just tuning in, there was a thunderstorm that hit the Tulsa area this afternoon, or this morning rather, which just about washed out this soccer match. But they have been able to more or less wring the field dry, and it's in good shape. On the wing, Moreland 19, Sauter rather. Shot is blocked by Twombly. Twombly and Skoteric go after it, and there is Tony Want, and stepping right on his face, and I do mean his face, but totally unintentionally, was it's either 18 or 19, Moreland or Sauter.
He appears to be okay. Doesn't look like too serious an injury. Yeah, might just have kicked him just a little bit.
He's kind of shaking his jaw a little. I put the glasses on him, and I think that one smarted a little bit.
Driving it out is Merrick, and waiting is Willie. But Barker was there before him. Overhead kick, Jasic. Across the touchline, a Minnesota throw-in from midfield.
You know, Rod, for such terrible weather that we had this morning, it's turned into a very, very nice night. It's very cool. The field is dried off considerably, so really there's no problem with the field at this moment.
And, of course, the decision on whether the game is played or not is up to the home club. Once the game is underway, then the referee has control as to whether it will continue or be postponed for any reason whatsoever. Foul called against Twellman. His play got a bit rough right at midfield, and a free kick will be coming for the Tulsa Roughnecks, who trail in this match 1-0. The goal going to Ron Futcher. Threat of thunderstorms still hangs in the Tulsa area, but I don't believe we're going to get any tonight. So watch it come down in buckets here very shortly. Free kick, Nikolic. Jumping header by Litt to Netzelenque, and it'll roll down and across the touchline, and the throw-in will come from Janisch for the Roughnecks. Who runs the ball down.
I think we were just informed that there's been a tornado or a tornado watch here in Tulsa. The weather is quite bad. If I see a tornado coming across the stadium, Rod, I'll leave you up here. You handle it.
I was just going to say, would you let me know? I do know where the exit is.
Well, I can assure you the biggest coward of the three is sitting on the right. So.
And we've had a touch of class enter our booth. The director of marketing for the Tulsa Roughnecks, who happens to be a very, very lovely lady, is here and helping us out with some pop and so on and so forth. A hard shot was deflected, and they wanted a handball violation. Did not get it. Play on, says the official, and back downfield come the kicks.
Remember that handball has to be intentional, and the referee was right on that one, and he didn't think it was intentional.
Ron Futcher scrapping with Moreland for the ball, and a foul is called against Futcher. Score, Minnesota 1, Tulsa nothing. We'll be right back.
Yeah, there's a yellow card.
Just over 5 minutes remaining in the first half of our match, with Minnesota leading 1-0. A free kick coming for the Roughnecks, taken by Skoteric, drives it for center, jumping header Litt, overhead Netzelenque, Two of the Roughnecks collide at midfield, and Willie has the ball. Tips it back to Ace Netzelenque. Twelman for Minnesota. Coming across for Twombly. Challenge, and coming up with the ball is Redfern. For the Roughnecks. His cross. But there is Price. And there is Litt. A foul has been called, a whistle. And hopefully it is against the Tulsa Roughnecks, or else it could be a penalty kick against Minnesota.
Yeah, I think it is. The players are indicating by the direction they're walking that they know it's a
Free kick, Minnesota.
And that was one
a
of,
kick for Minnesota.
excuse me, Trevor, that's one of Litt's specialties, is heading the ball away from the goal. Yesterday afternoon at practice, it was kind of hot, but they practiced that for about 10 or 15 minutes, Coach Bailey, kicking balls to him and continually heading them out 20, 30, even 35 yards.
Yeah, what they actually do is they develop very strong neck muscles, Bob, and they actually punch the ball with their head. And if you feel the back of their neck, it's just like a piece of steel.
We said just a few moments ago that a real touch of class had entered our broadcast telecast booth here in Tulsa. The director of marketing for the Tulsa Roughnecks is a very lovely lady by the name of Phil Ann. She is the only lady director of marketing in the entire North American Soccer League.
I'm certainly glad you explained that, Rod, because I was wondering if you'd change your perfume. I started smelling some very nice stuff. Maybe it's Trevor,
The word is fragrance.
Fragrance.
I've never been accused of smelling lovely.
Okay, back to soccer. Skoteric crossing, headed out by Merrick. Kept in by the Roughnecks. Jumping header, Litt, and Price. Volley by 12 minutes. It's back to midfield. Here is Chico Hamilton with a race for the ball. The Bolton beats it there.
As we said before, Bolton is a goalkeeper's goalkeeper, and that was an excellent play he made.
Skoteric on the side. As the Roughnecks putting on pressure. Redfern marked by Litt. Down goes Litt.
This is dangerous. This is
Wow, what a play.
Well, right now, that looks like 2 goals that Bruce Twombly have saved. If it hadn't been for his play back there, Jeff Barnett would have been in serious trouble. Then he stayed right on to his man, marked him all the way, and interfered just enough so that Jeff had a chance to get onto the ball.
Absolutely,
Barnett with a big boot. Butcher waits. It's over his head. It's over Barker's head. Willie is after it. Janish is also there. The ball's across the touchline, and Janish was the last one to touch it. Vladimir Janish, just signed yesterday by the Roughnecks. He is from Yugoslavia. The Kicks will take the throw-in. Netzelenque is over there, so is Price, or is it Hamilton? We're so far away I can't even see the numbers. Long throw-in for Butcher. Header. Bolton with the save.
That was a great positional play by Bolton. He actually, he was going to run forward when he saw the throw-in being taken, and then very wisely got back onto his goal line so that he was in position for that header.
We have 1 minute and 53 seconds remaining in the first half. 1-0 in favor of the Minnesota Kicks.
Looking at the replay, if Bolton has a bad ankle, he sure doesn't show the effects of it because he really moves quick on this
ball.
ball.
Now he's back again. Excellent play. Excellent anticipation by Bolton.
Back to live action, and this is Alan Willie. For Ron Butcher, lets it go between his legs. Netzelenque's shot is blocked by Skoteric. He gets up and drives it back, and a foul has been called against Netzelenque. Free kick coming up for the Roughnecks.
I think the ace was a little surprised there. Instead of giving one, I think he was looking for one.
Netzelenque with a chest trap as we're nearing the final 1 minute of the first half. 1 minute and 7 seconds. 6-5.
Oh, that's a bad pass.
Barnett covers that one. It was not a hard shot, and Barnett pretty much had it measured all the way. We're in the final minute now.
It's an interesting thing, and you young players should remember this when you're passing back to your goalkeeper. You should always try and pass back wide of the net so that if the goalkeeper does miss it, it goes over the goal line and not in the goal. Now, there was a prime example of a way not to do it. He passed it back, and it was going directly for the net, and fortunately, Barnett was able to get hold of it. Pass away from the net rather than towards it.
O'Riordan drives the ball to the side for the Roughnecks, but Minnesota's Paul Price comes away with it. To Litt, to Barnett. We're in the final half minute of the first half. The only goal of the match by Ron Butcher, and it came off a defensive lapse by the Tulsa Roughnecks. with 8 minutes and 40 seconds gone. Beg your pardon, make that 7 minutes and 6 minutes and 20 seconds gone of the match. We'll get an official time up here as they give us a scoring summary and scoring sheet at halftime. Time has run out on the field of play, but the official, the referee, has the official time, and he says it's not over just quite yet. So we'll just wait and see. Throw-in comes from Twombly to Chico Hamilton. Hamilton controlling the ball in his own end. Back heel pass for Twombly. It's up across the touchline. A throw-in coming for Tulsa. The clock reads 0. And I believe now we have the end of the half. There it is. That is the end of the first half. The score, the Minnesota Kicks 1 and the Tulsa Roughnecks 0. And we'll be back with a recap of this first half following these commercial messages.
At Skelly Stadium, where the Minnesota Kicks have a 1-0 lead, and if you hear a big boom in just a moment, there's a gentleman down on the field who is fixing to blow himself up with dynamite.
And if Trevor and I suddenly fall off our chairs, you know he went the wrong way.
One thing's for sure, you never know what's going to happen at halftime at a North American Soccer League game. Captain Dynamite is on the field. Possibly we may get a chance to see him blow himself up, for those of you at home who have never seen that. But maybe a little bit of a surprise. The Minnesota Kicks playing a surprisingly tough Tulsa Roughneck team. They got a lot of shots on goal.
Yes, indeed, that did happen, and the only score of the match, as we have mentioned on a couple of occasions, came on a defensive lapse, a breakdown by the Roughnecks, which found Chico Hamilton come up with the ball and then just tip it over to Ron Futcher, and Ron just tipped it into the goal. Chico tipped it away from Colin Bolton, who was coming out to try to make the save, and Chico beat him to the ball, tipped it over to Futcher, and Futcher just walked it in, so to speak. And that was with, as closely as we can recollect right now, 6 minutes and 20 seconds gone of the first half. However, these Tulsa Roughnecks, they came to play and they came to win here tonight. And Trevor, I don't know about you, but they certainly could have had a couple of goals in that first half.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Rod, we're very lucky, I think, to be leading 1-0. We could easily be 3-0 down ourselves. We picked up an opportunity that presented itself, and of course Barnett's been out of position a couple of times, although he's played an excellent game, don't get me wrong, but Twombly saved a couple, and of course one shot hit the crossbar. So
Twombly probably the key name at this point, and also a very satisfying game so far for Ron Futcher, who had to be an angry young man when Charlie George came in, took his position. He was on the bench. That has to be a little disappointing and probably very satisfying now that he's playing again.
Yeah, well, actually, this game lends itself to a physical situation because it's a rough game at this stage.
Okay, we'll be back in just a moment with our halftime guest, Ian Greaves from England. But right now, let's take this station break.
Sheet of steel. underneath the coffin to protect the Skelly Stadium.
Back at Skelly Stadium on a pretty nice night in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and with me is a gentleman who hasn't been in this country very long at all, in fact just a matter of hours, Ian Greaves, who's one of the top coaches for Bolton in the second division, who won their championship. They'll be moving up to first division football in England. And first, I want to get your opinion of the game so far. This is your first North American Soccer League game.
Well, I'm finding that because of the narrowness of the pitch, I think your boys are finding it a little bit difficult to get the passing together. The opposition's been able to shut them down and play them with a lot of aggression. But I think the important thing that I've seen so far is the mistake that cost the goal. Jasovic, is it the Yugoslav? He made a mistake and your boys took it away. Tremendous, terrific goal. But unfortunately then, you know, when they made the chances, they made a couple of chances. Two terrific saves, I felt, from Steve Litty. Got his foot to one. The ball, for me, that was a terrific save after 15 minutes. A clearance for him. And then the goal line clearance by the left back. What's he called? The Canadian boy. Good clearance off
Bruce
the line.
Twombly.
Bruce Twombly. A good clearance off the line. I think those are the two important things. The problems are coming, I feel. Corner kicks, of course, problem. Redfern's knocked a couple and one's hit the bar and the goalkeeper had to make a good save. So I think we've got to watch this the second half. The corner kicks, I'm sure Freddie will discuss this with the boys at half-time.
And speaking of Freddie, sort of a fascinating story between yourself, Freddie, and the opposing coach.
Yeah, Bill Folks, Freddie and myself, we all played together for about 10 years. And, you know, it's only a few years, not many years ago. We're only young fellas yet, you know.
Now, what is the major reason for your coming over and looking at North American Soccer League? You were telling me earlier this afternoon that perhaps the NASL has some advantages over English football, that there should be some changes made in England.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. We have the problem that we just play the game. You know, the game's very dour, as we say in England, very strong. And conditions, the ball's running away from them. I heard Fred talking to them this morning and saying that this was happening. It's quite right. They've got to be careful with the passing because the opposition, they're not playing well, but they're putting a lot of effort into the game.
As a manager of a team in England and very much into the business end, what do you think of the...
Then I've no objection at all.
Well, behind us in just a moment, so that you can get startled. You can see, ladies and gentlemen, that is Captain Dynamite, who has just blown himself up. However, it appears to me that he's still intact. He's starting to move there a bit. A little bit of an unusual type halftime entertainment, and I'm sure, Ian, you've probably never witnessed anything like that at an English football match.
Hallelujah.
A bit of a strange occurrence. Would you ever see that at a Manchester United game or a Bolton game?
No, they shoot managers in England. They bomb managers in England.
Well, Captain Dynamite is up, fans. I just want you to know that. So, Captain Dynamite is up. Also, oh, there he is. A replay, instant replay. Now watch Captain Dynamite. Any comments on that, Ian?
God help him.
Well, and you saw it right here, fans. North American Soccer League action. So, away from Captain Dynamite and back to English football. Is there anything that worries you about English football?
Yes, there's a lot worries me about it. The main thing is the attitude towards the game by the players. I think sometimes we play too aggressively. The one thing I do notice on this surface is that the referee is very quick to stop any tackling from behind. The Yugoslav boys tried to tackle, he kicked a couple of players there, and the referee's very quick to jump on it, and this is good. We don't allow tackling from behind in England, although it creeps back into the game. and any kind of fouling on this surface is noticed very quickly, and I think it's good from that point of view. But again, I would like to say, I would like to see this same game playing under conditions on grass, and I would like to comment on it then.
Well, you'll get a chance to see that in Minnesota, and we're going to take a commercial break and we'll be right back right after this. Okay. Are we back on camera or take a full walk? Back on camera? Back at Skelly Stadium with the Minnesota Kicks leading 1-0. This is Bob Bruce along with Trevor Eisenman and Rod Treingard. And we want to thank Ian Greaves for coming on at halftime. Just an absolutely great and interesting fellow. And Captain Dynamite gave him quite a scare, but I think he'll be able to talk about that when he goes back to England for sure.
I tell you, I'm standing off to the side, and I have my ears plugged totally, and that dynamite goes off, and it rocked this press box, I'll tell you, and it rocked me. Trevor, you look all right.
Well, I'd like to apologize for the remark I'm going to say to all the fans back at home, but I really got a bang out of the halftime show.
I'm glad you apologized.
So well put, Trevor.
Vladimir Josic is at midfield in that center circle, as it will be the Tulsa Roughnecks to kick off to start the second half, and here we go. The official time of the goal by Futcher, and it was from Hamilton. That was the only assist given on the play, was at 9:02 of the first half. Tulsa with a new man in the game here to start the second half, and that new man is number 14, Brian Smith, who just arrived here last week from the Bolton Wonders, and that's the team that Ian Greaves coaches and manages in England.
For you English people that are listening, of course, it's Bolton Wanderers, like the Happy Wanderers.
Jumping header. Oh, and missing a volley is McCaskey. And a foul has been called against the Roughnecks, and the Minnesota Kicks will have a free kick coming out.
Rod, I noticed there's a little debris out in the middle of the field. I wonder if that's some leftover pieces from Captain Dynamite.
It absolutely is some leftover. It may be some leftover pieces of him, and not only his paraphernalia that he was using. I cannot understand. There you see midfield. I cannot understand why anybody in their right mind would want to do something.
We won't take a tight shot of that, fans. It might be a bit.
That's show business, I guess.
Oh, showbiz, I guess so. So Brian Smith is in the game, and he is playing at midfield. Charlie Mitchell is also in, and he is number 6, and he is the one who has just sent it across the touchline for a Minnesota throw-in. So there are at least 2 substitutions here to start the second half for the Tulsa Roughnecks. The Minnesota throw-in will be made by Captain Alan Merrick. Alan the Iron Man, the only player who has started every game in Minnesota Kicks history. His pass is to Futcher, back for Merrick, driven across the touchline by Charlie Mitchell, their assistant coach. He assists Bill Folks. Charlie is the only player that was on this side last year when it played out of Hawaii. Chico Hamilton has the ball deflected, but it's picked up by Paul Price. Shot across the field. Twellman is waiting there. Also, Brian Smith, the ball's across the touchline. It's a Minnesota throw-in. 1-0. York Minnesota Kicks are out in front as they go for number 8 in a row.
I don't know if Chico has been told by Freddie Goodwin to move out of position, but I noticed that he's moved over to the right from the left wing. He was playing more to the left in there. And he may be trying to pick up that player, that extra player that we're using as a sweeper.
Earlier today, Trevor, he did indicate that if they had problems on the opposite side where Chico was, that he would perhaps move him over to sort of control that area if they were having a few problems.
Well, I think that's what he's done. I noticed that Hamilton is very obviously changed size of the field. And although he's predominantly a left-footed kicker, you notice he turned on that one with his left foot. That was a turning kick. He's very able with his right foot also.
The Roughnecks start to move it downfield, but at midfield, a jumping header by number 2, Bruce Twomley. And here is a deflection by Netzolenque. Header by Twellman. The Roughnecks continue to control. Zetch, that is.
There's no offside because it's from a...
Skoteric over on the far side, along with Twomley from Minnesota. The throw-in is for Tulsa from Skoteric. 4, who had the ball momentarily, was O'Riordan. Red for number 7, tipped out of bounds by Twomley across the touchline, and another throw-in coming up for Tulsa.
Some of the fans might keep an eye on Bruce Twomley because he's playing one of his better games of the year. He's made some saves in front of the goal and is controlling his area of the field without a doubt.
Minnesota breaks up the play. On the wing, Chico Hamilton in his own end, driving it downfield. O'Riordan starts back for Tulsa. Don O'Riordan out of Ireland and Derby County. Ball taken by Minnesota. Fletcher is after it. Deflection by Nikolic. This is Moreland. Victor Moreland, number 18. Ball deflected by Chico Hamilton, controlled by Alan Merrick, bumped by Caskey, picked up by Twellman. Back for Twomley. Deflection by the Roughnecks. Twellman getting it back, saved by the Minnesota Kicks, Alan Merrick. Or I beg your pardon, Alan Willie. Broken up by O'Riordan, and now back for the Roughnecks. Nikolic, correction. New man in the game, Brian Smith, 14. Down the middle he goes, putting it ahead and onto the foot of Zentz. Crossing, Caskey, header across the goal line, and the goal kick for Minnesota. 1-0, the Minnesota Kicks lead on Ron Fletcher's second goal of the year. We're just into the second half. If you're just joining us, and you're going to returning to action right after this. Shot by Alan Willie was deflected across the goal line. So a Minnesota corner kick, and it's Chico Hamilton positioning the ball. Here he comes. Long, jumping header. Once again across the goal line. Once again a Minnesota corner kick from the same spot and the same man. Here it is again. And again, a Minnesota corner kick is headed across the goal line by Skoteric. 3 in a row. This is the Kicks' third corner kick of the second half. They had only 2 in the first half. Tulsa had 3. Back it comes for Merrick. He tries to volley it, gets too much under it. Header by Willie. Chico Hamilton controls it, takes it to the inside for Willie, turning around. Jasic got a piece of it. Back it comes to center. Ace Netzolenque. Blocked by Jasic. Over to Redfern. Now it's Netzolenque with the chest trap. And Netzolenque's pass to the side is between 2 of the kicks, and a throw-in comes for the Roughnecks. Tony Watt, jumping header. Controlled by Twomley for the Minnesota Kicks. Back deep in his own end. Drives it back up. Finally, Twellman coming away with it. It's for NASL at midfield. Ace with a slant to the right. Dips it off for Chico Hamilton. Hamilton feints his man, and then a volley kick, and it's knocked across the touchline and touched last, I believe, by Hamilton. No, they say that the Minnesota Kicks have the ball, as it was Charlie Mitchell, the assistant coach, to touch it last.
And you might notice a few little lovelies there behind Alan Merrick.
Fletcher with a cross, blocked by Mitchell. Driven downfield by Mitchell. The foot trap from Zentz. Up for Caskey. Redfern broken up by Want, but he can't control it. A throw in here for Tulsa.
There's an indication there of the speed of the ball. Want was able to get his foot to it and kick it out of bounds. But again, at the Met, I think he'd have had control of that ball.
Zentz on the throw in.
This is a very
by Chico Hamilton.
It's a very quick short passing game because of the surface. Very
Moreland.
difficult to control the ball.
18, Moreland on the toss. Caskey, 12. His shot partially deflected by Alan Merrick. Driven back upfield by Paul Price. Run down by Nikolic. They start again as they could put continuous pressure on. O'Riordan's long pass headed by Paul Price. It's to the sideline. Throw in Tulsa. Oh, how badly they want to go. Brian Smith, 14. O'Riordan marked by NASL. 1-0 Minnesota. Tulsa with the ball in the Minnesota end. It's again O'Riordan, number 4. His shot is up and over the goal. And the Minnesota goal kick is on the way.
That was pretty heads-up ball there on the part of Tulsa. I noticed that the forward line were watching that second defender and moving back, making sure they weren't offside, so that when the shot went through, they were okay.
Minnesota leads it 1-0. We're going to be right back. Nothing. The Minnesota Kicks out in front here in this match. And Bob, you've got a couple of finals.
A couple of scores, really. Second half just beginning. Dallas 1-0 over Toronto. And in the first half, Colorado leads LA 2-0. So two Central Division teams in action tonight.
Dallas just 7 points behind the Minnesota Kicks. And they could overtake Minnesota with a victory and a Minnesota loss. The Kicks, of course, are thinking nothing but win themselves and padding their already 7-point margin in the division. They have a game in hand with both Tulsa and Dallas, meaning plainly and simply that both these two teams have played one more game than your Minnesota Kicks.
And was it so long ago, Rod, when the Minnesota Kicks had not won a game?
That's so absolutely true.
That's right.
It's really amazing to think back.
It's interesting that Tulsa appear to have gone to a 4-3-3 offense now, as opposed to a
from the free kick.
Opposed to a 4-3-3 defense that they were using before. They're pretty goal hungry. They want to score one.
The header was by NASL across the touchline. So Tulsa continues in control of the play. Throw in Zentz. Driven out by Price to Fletcher, but through his legs and deflected by the Roughnecks, controlled by Tulsa.
Offside there. I guess the three of us are in agreement. The linesman, the referee, and myself all thought it was offside, but the important thing is the referee thought it was.
Very good, Trevor.
Mr. Juan Pinto, the referee, right. Mr. Juan Pinto.
He did a good job there. Anytime he calls offside on Tulsa, that's okay with me.
There's Barnett's boot for Willie, but just over his head. Fletcher with a foot trap. Fletcher turning around, trying to get something going. He goes down on one knee, and the loose ball is controlled by the Roughnecks. Brian Smith, 14, near midfield. Jim gives it off to Redfern. Kimmy Twellman for Minnesota takes a swipe at it. Across the touchline it goes, and it's delaying play enough so the Kicks defense can get position. Throw in Tulsa. 1-0 in the second half, about 12 minutes into the second half. They have a clock here that they have to set 3 times each half. It starts out at 15 minutes. Goes down to 0, starts at 15, goes to 0, and back to 15 again. Plays at midfield. Redfern Deflected by Twomley. Merrick. Off to Fletcher. Now Twellman. Passes to Price. Metzelenque. Price. Playing it through the legs of Janisch. For Merrick. Back to Tony Watt.
Good pass by one. Excellent pass by one.
Excellent passing game here for the Kicks.
Yes, it is. Right now, that was super soccer.
Chico Hamilton looking for a cross. Driven out by Nikolic. Controlled by the Roughnecks. Up to midfield. Want comes up and deflects it. It's taken by Twomley, number 2. Off to Hamilton for the Kicks. Back to Twomley. Rolls it slowly to Hamilton. Chico looking in. Here's his cross for Willie. And we'll have a goal kick for the Tulsa Roughnecks. 1-0 in favor of the Minnesota Kicks. We'll return to action right after this.
On the west side, Roughnecks. Are you ready? On the east side.
Free kick coming up for the Tulsa Roughnecks. A foul has been called against Paul Price, who collided with Caskey, their leading scorer, Billy Caskey.
Of course, Charlie George not playing tonight, but Trevor, I was wondering, he's such a great passer. How do you think Charlie would do on a surface like this?
Oh, there's no question that his touches, being able to roll on this surface, he'd be brilliant. You know, I think I've watched Charlie George play twice now. I watched him in the Chicago game and the Vancouver game, and I also watch Pele, and of course there's no one in the world like Pele. Pele has remarkable ball control and dribbling, but I have to say this up front, that I think Charlie George's touches are as good as some that any I saw of Pele's. I really do believe that. I'm not saying that he's as good a player, but the way he moves the ball around, and on a field like this, he'd make mincemeat out of Tulsa. It's too bad he's not out there tonight.
Also, a great thing that Charlie George can do is, like a quarterback, he sees the people where they're open. Like a quarterback looking for a receiver, he instantly knows where the open man is, and he just drops the ball off to him.
Teammate of Charlie George, Ron Webster of the Minnesota Kicks, describes what Bob Bruce and Trevor Eisman have been talking about as tremendous vision by Charlie George. And indeed, he has that. And in talking with Ron and about the very subject that was mentioned, Pelé, he said that, well, no, Charlie George isn't in Pelé's category or class when Pelé was at his peak. But the Pelé that we have seen here in the United States, that Charlie George is equal to and no doubt better than, that Pelé. And that is saying something.
Yep, as a matter of fact, Charlie George is that good, and the touches that he comes up with are that fast that the Minnesota Kicks are going to have to learn to play with him, because right now he's playing a little ahead of them. But they'll catch him. There's a lot of talent and a lot of depth with this team, and they're going to be dynamite.
And right now it is Caskey with the ball for the Tulsa Roughnecks, who trail in this match 1-0. The goal by Ron Futcher, coming at 9:02 of the first half. Play is at midfield again. A throw in for Tulsa.
Speaking for the fans, on Monday, Charlie George has about a 50% chance of starting. It depends on how that groin pool responds to treatment, responds to the whirlpool therapy.
And as play continues here at midfield, we can also kind of update you on Alan West. He will work out with the team tomorrow, and they will make somewhat of a decision at that time as to how much his ankle has mended that he injured against the Chicago Sting. And hopefully Alan will be back in the lineup very, very shortly. But the Kicks win without these superstars, which says that they have great depth. Brian Smith, 14 for Tulsa. Makes his pass for Moreland, chipping it, however, headed by Want. Over to Hamilton, back to Chico Want, or Chico Hamilton, Tony Want. There you go with the names, and Paul Price, number 3, has it on the side. His pass is over the head of Alan Willie, but he was charged from behind by Charlie Mitchell, the assistant coach for the Roughnecks, and a free kick coming up for Minnesota.
And there's no way a team is going to make it to the Soccer Bowl this year without depth. They play so many games.
In fact, coming up at the Met, there are 4 home games. Washington in on the 29th, June 3rd, Seattle, the 10th, California, and then New York, the Cosmos coming to town. They're going to have depth if they're going to do anything because there are going to be injuries.
A squaring pass for the Kicks is all the way across the field, and a throw-in coming for the Tulsa Roughnecks. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but there is a racetrack, stock car racetrack, not too far from here. Well, if you can't hear that, then you're deaf.
I think he just won, whoever he is.
Yes. Coming out of the 4th and final turn, he took the checkered flag. But anyway, that is the disturbance that you hear in the background every once in a while. If you think that we have a little racetrack up here, well, that isn't true. But they do have one not too far away. And it's coming through loud and clear. And there they come again, out of the 3rd turn. Back to soccer. Willie, jumping header. Behind him was Charlie Mitchell, and Mitchell got the ball. Brian Smith. Mitchell. Now Moreland. Victor Moreland on the run. Passing ahead for Yasic. Marked by Price. The ball's across the goal line. And let's see who touched it last. Minnesota goal kick coming up. And the crowd doesn't agree.
Not a very large crowd here tonight at Skelly Stadium. However, this is a small town. This is the smallest town of all the franchises in the North American Soccer League.
Actually, if you notice, the ball is not in the goal area. It's off the yellow line, so apparently the referee called for an infringement rather than a goal kick. The crowd thought it was a corner kick, and they thought the referee had awarded a goal kick, but he hadn't. It was a free kick because it wasn't taken from the goal kick position.
He has awarded a Minnesota throw-in right now, and Captain Alan Merrick is at the sideline to make that throw-in. Looks to Futcher, plays it to Futcher. But it rolls past him. Netzelenque for the moment. A volley kick by O'Riordan that Barnett has measured. Again, it's 1-0 for Minnesota over the Tulsa Roughnecks as the Kicks go for win number 8 in a row. Plays at midfield. Chest trap from Nikolic. Roughnecks in control. Now it's back for Minnesota. And Steve Litt.
Steve was screening the ball very effectively there from the defender.
Hamilton leaps over Charlie Mitchell. Squaring pass to the side. Netzelenque. And now Twellman. Back for Twombly. His passes to Futcher. Futcher with a crossing pass. Oh! Willie! Oh, what a play! Willie scoring! Holy cow, what a shot!
And that's Allen's 11th goal of the year in 11 games. And let's look at this replay. Trevor, just a great pass in front of the goal, and Alan Willie with another great header.
Oh, he went full length on this one. I hope we say, oh, beautiful. Absolutely magnificent goal. And he was lined up perfectly. He hung back so that he didn't get offside. You notice that?
And once again, he's in the right place. Just perfect positioning for the pass to get it into the goal.
Yeah, as I call Willie, the little terrier dog. He's always at your heels, yapping away. If I was a defender, he'd drive me crazy.
That is Futcher's 3rd assist on the year. Correction, yes, as you were, his 3rd assist. He has 2 goals and now 3 assists on the year. And Willie, as it was mentioned, his 11th goal of the season, and Minnesota leads it 2-0.
You might notice that before that goal came about, the Kicks were starting to make shorter passes and trying to control the ball a little better, more as a team than individually, which they're going to have to do on this surface. And they worked it down, took their time, and then got the open shot.
Yeah, the beauty behind that goal, Bob, if you could have seen the whole field, which unfortunately we didn't on camera, was the way Willie did hold back behind the second defender. If he'd gone forward a pace or two, he'd have been offside. And then when the ball was finally kicked, he dove and went after it. That was really an excellent goal for that very reason.
Alan Willie, and we have Ace Netzelenque injured down on the field. Captain Alan Merrick, Paul Price, number 3, Ron Futcher, number 18, coming over to check on the fallen warrior, and trainer Gary Smith is out attending to him.
And we can't really tell what the injury is. We know that Ace did have a problem from the Tampa game with an ankle. So it looks like possibly he might have been kicked on that same ankle or in the leg.
By the way, that was Alan Willie's 6th consecutive goal in as many games. And what a season he's having. 2-0 Minnesota. They're still tending to Netzelenque. We'll return to action right after this. All is well with the ace. A correction or addition to what we have said about Alan Willie. Yes, he has scored in 6 consecutive games. He has scored 7 goals in that span of 6 consecutive games. Ron Futcher with the ball now for the Kicks.
And we might also mention that going into this game, Willie was only 2 goals behind Mike Flanagan as far as league goal scoring, and only 1 goal behind the great Giorgio Chinaglia of New York. So Alan is really vying for the league lead in goal scoring. Also, he's got 53 career goals. He scored 88 points. Now, that was in 53 career games, rather. Now, Pele played in 56 games and only scored 87 points. So Alan is ahead of Pele, as we said, possibly superior to the one we've seen in the United States.
Time of that goal from Alan Willie from Ron Futcher was 60-20. And a halftime score, Dallas leading Toronto 2-1. Throw-in coming up for the Roughnecks. From Moreland, Nikolic collides with Twellman. There's a shot taken by Brian Smith, deflected to the side by the Kicks, and a corner kick will come up here for the Tulsa Roughnecks, and Redfern should be taking it. Here comes from Redfern, headed out by Litt, controlled, shot, knocked down, rolls to the side and across the goal line. The shot was from Zetz.
See if you can watch when he takes this corner kick now. The last time he took it right-footed and tried to swing it in. Now, that's a most unusual corner kick because the ball, the natural kick in soccer is to hook the ball, and he's going to take it right-footed and watch it, and that ball is slicing like a golf ball would slice to the right. Very difficult to actually execute that kind of kick.
High volley by Willie. Hamilton heads it further downfield. Charlie Mitchell after it for the Roughnecks. Squaring pass, but it's taken on a running header by Twellman. Tip now for Futcher. Mitchell drives it back upfield for the Roughnecks, and here they come. They're down 2-0. Header by Paul Price. Netzelenque. Steal for the Roughnecks. Trying to set something up is O'Riordan. Crossing, jumping header. Nice play by Steve Litt. Steve Litt, one of those really, really tough young men. You don't move him out of position, and he'll battle you every inch of the way for the ball. His play is on the side, and a throw-in coming for Minnesota. Or are they going to overrule it and give it back to Tulsa? I think that's what they're going to do, yes.
Yeah, that's Tulsa's ball. Of course, you always hope the referee didn't see it, so you grab the ball and throw it and hope the play goes on.
They can always bring it back, right?
Yeah, that's right, exactly right.
O'Riordan.
And if it wastes any time when you're ahead 2-0, well, what's the difference anyway?
True. Twellman heading it for Futcher, for Willie. Willie keeping it alive, keeping the ball under control. They're really banging and pushing and shoving. Skoteric and Willie were the 2 main men in that bout, and it's the Roughnecks coming away with it.
Something interesting there. One of the laws of soccer states that if you play dangerously, you can be penalized. Now, one of those players there ducked his head down fairly low towards a man's waist. Now, that can be, even though he can get kicked in the face, that can constitute dangerous play on his part as opposed to the player that's kicking him. It doesn't necessarily have to be the fellow that's high kicking. If you duck low and get injured yourself, it's still dangerous play.
19 minutes and 35 seconds remaining in our match here from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Skelly Stadium in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Rod Trongate along with Bob Bruce and Trevor Eisenman as the Minnesota Kicks lead it on a score of 2-0. Goals by Ron Futcher and Alan Willie. Willie's 7th in 6 games. He has scored in 6 consecutive games. And that was absolutely a beauty of a header. Ken Mitchell, number 20, is into the game. Another player change. There are a couple of Mitchells for the Tulsa Roughnecks, as Barnett has taken the goal kick and the ball is headed across the touchline. It's 2-0 Minnesota. We're going to be right back.
Let's get a goal. Roughnecks, let's go. Yeah, run, get in, go.
2-0 Minnesota. As they bid for 3, Twellman's shot was wide to the right. And a goal kick will be coming for the Tulsa Roughnecks. 19 minutes left in the match.
Looking at the crowd, they were expecting 8,000 tonight. It looks a little bit less than 8,000, maybe because of the rain this morning. But you must remember, small city, smallest city in the league, and it's a new franchise, so it's just really catching on here.
550,000 population here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Roughnecks have lost their last 3 in a row. They lost on Wednesday night in Rochester on a score of 3-0. Moreland, number 18, at the side.
Of course, remember, the population of Bloomington is only about, what, 82,000? So.
But then when you add in the population of the Twin Cities, you get up into the millions.
Right.
Lots of soccer fans.
Redfern with a shot. Barnett with a save. A clearing by Want.
Excellent position by Barnett. He positioned himself excellently. That's the mark of a good goalkeeper. Mark of a good goalkeeper.
And Trevor, when you look at the replay, Jeff always wants help from those defender, and Tony Want did exactly his job right here.
Absolutely.
Jeff makes the save. It's coming up with the kick. He makes the save, it bounces off, and Tony alertly clears that rebound off, which prevents that second shot, which a lot of goals are scored on.
Absolutely. The mark of a good goalie is to get his body behind the ball, which he did do, and even though he didn't hold it, it bounced out, and then Tony was there to clear it. And that's heads-up ball, whichever way you look at it.
These Roughnecks are putting on a lot of pressure, a lot of play in the Minnesota end here in the second half. Despite the fact that Minnesota has scored a goal in each half, a lot of the game has been played in the Minnesota end. One thing, I don't know, Trevor, if this might be a possibility that the Roughnecks may run out of gas long before the Minnesota Kicks will, just because of their tremendous play so far. Moreland moving in.
Well, I don't know if they run out of gas. I noticed that perhaps what Freddie Goodwin has done, he's got a 2-0 lead. He's definitely playing a 4-3-3 defense, and he's dropped back sometimes to a 5-2-3. He's dropped back to a little bit of a defensive game now, and you can't blame him for that. He's sitting on a 2-0 lead. We want this win pretty bad.
Controlled by Minnesota, they tap it back to Barnett. 16 minutes, 57 seconds left to go in the game. Minnesota leading it 2-0. Barnett surveying where everybody is downfield before he sends the ball toward Alan Willie, but it's over his head. Volleyed back by the Roughnecks toward center. Want going for a header, but the Roughnecks beat him to it. Caskey is number 12. Over to Redfern, number 7. Back it comes for number 9. Zetz moving in, deflected by Alan Merrick. Shot by Caskey. Oh, it's off the bar, and it's headed right back in. It's headed right back in, and the Roughnecks are in this ball game. 2-1, and let's check the replay.
On the replay, you can see, Trevor, we just talked about those rebound goals and how dangerous they are. And Victor Moreland, watch this, it bounds off, and then immediately right back in. The defenders were not there. Tony this time didn't clear it out.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, there's no chance of being offside on a play like that. It was an excellent goal. They took their opportunities. I can't blame Barnett for that. He tried, and he was just simply beaten with good soccer.
No, nobody will fault Jeff Barnett on that particular goal, and it's either Moreland or Redfern.
Well, finally, after 3 games, the Tulsa Roughnecks have a goal scored, and that might inspire them to tie this game up. They could really be fired up now.
Here's the pass for Willie, close to being offside.
Yes, he was. As a matter of fact, Rod, I was surprised that it wasn't called.
Fans getting a bit vocal now. They're really fired up by that goal. It's the first time they've scored in 3 games. And we'll be back with more action right after this.
was a good corner kick that was...
Credit the goal, the Tulsa goal, to number 7, that being Jimmy Redfern, his second on the year, to go along with 2 assists. And it's a 2-1 match here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Price with an overhead for Twellman, jumping header. This is Hamilton, his shot. Oh, Bolton knocks it down.
That Bolton is something else.
And that ball had a lot of power on it.
It sure did.
Listen to this crowd. They're going crazy.
Here comes Etz. Barnett coming out.
The crowd that has been somewhat quiet throughout most of the game has now suddenly really come alive.
This is a very good game. Excellent game. This is up to Metropolitan Stadium standards.
13 minutes, 45 seconds left in the match as Barnett sends it downfield over the head of Futcher.
Who incidentally was doing a little pushing.
Throw in for Tulsa. Willie steals the ball from Minnesota, gives it to Futcher. Starts across, but the play is blocked by Nikolic. Now it's taken by Alan Merrick. Over to Futcher. Sliding tackle, and Futcher goes down. The sliding tackle from Charlie Mitchell, and Futcher thought it was applied just a little bit rough.
Probably a few words between those two players there. How
Like,
are you doing?
don't do
How's
that.
the family? And
Yes, indeed.
that sort of thing.
Nice night. Hope it doesn't rain. Futcher again. And if you believe that, you believe anything, fans.
Futcher is trying to really embarrass him there. He's trying to get by him.
That was a trip. This should be a free kick.
Okay, the goal was Jimmy Redfern, and its time was 74-20.
They're going to call it a throw-in, Trevor.
The assist went to Smith. Minnesota has the ball, however, and the lead. And it might well be very difficult to score again on Jeff Barnett in this match. 12.5 minutes remaining. We have a free kick here for Minnesota following the Tulsa violation. Merrick setting it up. Caps it to Paul Price. Past Chico Hamilton. And controlled by Bolton for Tulsa. 12 minutes remaining. The roll up to Nikolic. The long pass. Headed back by Litt. Nice airplay by Steve Litt. O'Riordan for Redfern. They set it up. Mitchell. Shot blocked by Twombly. Barnett on the save off the shot that came from Redfern.
Again, you'll notice excellent position by Barnett on that play. He was out. He was in the right side of the field. You don't score too many goals from that particular angle, and Barnett played that beautifully. That was good, excellent defense. Very good.
Reviewing the goals of this match. Minnesota in the first half. Futcher from Hamilton at 9:02. In the second half, Willie from Futcher at 60-20. And then for Tulsa, Jim Redfern from Smith at 74-20. We have 11 minutes remaining. And it's Minnesota's ace, Netzelenque.
Give him 3 points for that one.
Here's the final. San Jose defeating Philadelphia this evening. Bolton rolling it to the side. Nikolic back to Bolton. Deflection to Twombly. He's across the touchline and shoved almost into the stands. See who gets the throw in. Is it Minnesota? Twombly is there. Yes, Minnesota will take it. Twombly looking. Finally, he finds Futcher. And it's again across the touchline. Minnesota leading 2-1 with 10 minutes left in the game. We'll be right back. It's 2-1 for the Kicks. Don't go away. Tulsa is going to put on pressure as long and as hard as they possibly can. Foul had been called against Tulsa, thus the free kick for Alan Merrick all the way down the field and across the goal line, and a goal kick here for the Roughnecks.
And now Bolton made a mistake there. He shouldn't have let that ball go out of play for a goal kick. He should have stopped it, because they need those few seconds. You can't afford to waste those seconds when you're behind 1-0 with 9 minutes on the clock.
Back on the back line of defense is Charlie Mitchell, number 6, and Bolton. Bolton's toss is for Moreland, 18. Netzelenquay deflects it. Back to Charlie Mitchell and back to Bolton. All of this play in their own end, taking up precious seconds. 8 minutes, 50 seconds remaining. Minnesota leading 2-1. Jumping header, Merrick. O'Riordan with a volley. Ken Mitchell on the side. Here it is ahead for Caskey. I think Caskey was offside. He was very, very close to being offside. Nonetheless, Barnett smothers the play just to make sure.
Barnett was in great position. I don't know if you've noticed, Rod, there is a very, about a 25 to 30 mile an hour wind. I guess we just noticed it. It almost blew our lineups off. Now here's the replay of that. And watch, they have the man in position, but he is offside because there has to be 2 defenders behind him, so he wasn't in the right position, so there's offsides. But that wind could come into play for the Minnesota Kicks. It will definitely favor them.
Very strong gusty winds now coming through our booth, and let's hope that that tornado that they were talking about a little bit earlier, or a severe thunderstorm, is not developing. Certainly has cooled things off about 10 degrees here in the past 30 seconds, I'll tell you that much. Some collisions down on the field, and Captain Alan Merrick stepping between Steve Litt and the Roughneck player, whose number I missed for the moment. I believe it was O'Riordan. And if anybody can calm things down, Captain Allen can.
I guess the whole troop is up there. Every player is up, and every player is back on defense. Tulsa won a goal. The crowd are coming alive.
Long chip, headed, scissor, Barnett.
Well, Mr. Barnett's earning his money tonight. He's a little bit busy there in the net.
And he's played very well tonight. Very well.
Jeffrey taking all the time he can.
In fact, I personally think this has been Barnett's best season so far. He's made less mistakes this year than he's made in the 2 previous years that I've watched him, and he's playing very good goaltending.
And part of that may be due to the fact, of course, because he is an excellent athlete, but also there's a man by the name of Tino Lettieri that's putting on a little bit of pressure.
You bet.
Tino says he's fit and ready to play and just about back to 100%. Running header is missed by the Roughnecks. The ball goes across the
I was talking to Tino on the bus yesterday coming back from the practice. He's a very disappointed young man because he feels that if he hadn't have sprained that ankle, he would be in goal right now for the Minnesota Kicks. That's the way he feels, and he wants to get a chance to get back into things. But on this team, if you make a mistake or you get injured and you go out of the lineup, you may never get back in. There's too much talent.
And Mark Moran has come into the game for the Minnesota Kicks. Ace Netzelenquay has gone out. Mark Moran out of St. Louis in his 2nd year. Into the match at midfield. Throwing Tulsa. Moreland, 18. Price tries to move in front of Caskey. Ball gets past Caskey, controlled by Redford. Marked by Moran.
Little holding there.
Free kick for Tulsa. Paul Price taps the ball
I think
away.
either Paul Price or Moran was doing some holding, and the referee saw it. He's awarded it. And this will be a direct free kick, and it could be dangerous because it's the wind is blowing in favor of Tulsa. Almost the whole team up.
Charlie Mitchell, number 6, setting it up as the wind continues to gust. You see a wide angle and see the formation. Here's Mitchell, his cross. Barnett is there, loose ball. Barnett covers it.
And Barnett was in a crowd. He had several people there breathing down his neck, and he didn't hear the pitter-patter of little footsteps. He just reached right up there, pulled it down, and most importantly, didn't let it get away from him, because if he had, it would have been all over. It would have been a goal more than likely.
One thing that was totally out of your picture, and he's just coming in now, is Bolton, their goalkeeper. He was all the way up to midfield on that particular play, shouting encouragement to his teammates.
Time becoming an increasing factor here because there's only 4:45 left to go.
Moran, number 8 for Minnesota, taps it back to Price. Sliding tackle, and Price is volleyed in the air. The tackle applied by Ken Mitchell, number 20, and a foul is called against Mitchell. .425 remaining. Oh, how they would love to get another goal and tie this thing up and possibly win it here tonight. Oh. What happened there is Chico Hamilton ran into one of the security officers on the sideline, and the ball has been awarded to the Tulsa Roughnecks.
Somebody should tell the security officer that it's the yellow line that is a touch line, not that he's thinking of football and he was walking down the side of the usual sideline for a football game.
Ball is across the way, and it is across the touchline, and we will have a Minnesota throw-in. Time left, 3:50. Minnesota leads it 2-1. Going for their 8th in a row. Remember, Monday afternoon at 3:05 at the Met, the Kicks and the Washington Diplomats. And the Kicks expect to go over the 1 million mark in total attendance at that game. They need 22,368 to do it.
Trevor, with only 3:34 left in the game, if you were Freddie, would you merely play defense, or would you keep the pressure on?
No, you always have to keep the pressure on in this game, Bob. To just drop back and play defense, all you need is one mistake and it's in your own net. The key to running out the clock at this time are the midfielders, or the link men as they're sometimes called. If they can control the ball in midfield, that's the key. Not just a question of sitting back and heading it out of your own goal all the time.
It's a Minnesota throw-in. Willie comes up. Now it's a Tulsa throw-in. 3 minutes remaining. Skoteric, 15, has the toss for Redfern. Moving to center. Reardon on the side, losing control is Mitchell,
Goal
and
kick.
it's a Minnesota goal kick.
No, that was, the crowd doesn't like it, but I have to agree with the referee. That was obviously a goal kick.
And number 20, Ken Mitchell, didn't like the call either. Mitchell, one of their newest members, arriving just last week from Newcastle United in England.
Well, it appears with 2 minutes and 21 seconds, not to be premature, that the Kicks are on to their 8th straight win, and it means that Monday, when they're back home at the Met, they could go for a North American Soccer League record.
Yeah, they've just tied the record, of course, with 8. Los Angeles and Oakland, isn't it, Rod?
The defunct Oakland franchise and Los Angeles.
Yeah, I thought so.
Los Angeles in 74, Oakland in 68. And we're getting some rain. If we were in Texas now, they'd say a northern was blowing in. Maybe they say it in Oklahoma. Or else some water just came off the roof, one or the other.
Well, you can see there's a searchlight of some kind from maybe a shopping center that's going around, and the cloud cover is very, very low, but I don't think we're going to get rain before the end of the game. But something is moving in tonight.
Yeah, well, if something's moving in, I'm moving out.
Jumping header, Moreland, then Want, then over the head of Moreland. Brian Smith trying to control it. Marked by Moran. Deflected by Merrick. Toward Futcher. Kept in by Moreland with a volley. Jumping header once. Want is there. Driven out
good
by
clearance.
Price. It goes to Futcher. Nice defensive play by Paul Price.
This could be the game.
Downfield for Alan Willie.
Keep it on the
Willie
island.
keeps it
Alan.
inside that yellow line. And now he looks for a cross for Futcher. And Futcher can't quite control it and tips it across the goal line. A goal kick coming up for Bolton with 54 seconds left to go in the match, and Minnesota leading it on a mark of 2-1.
And the way the weather's coming in, I hope the seconds tick off pretty fast. I'd like to get down from this press box.
We are atop the press box here in Tulsa. I would guess about 100 feet off the playing surface.
Offside.
Look out. Redfern shot. Goal. Does it count? No. Wait a minute. Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yes, it does. There's no offside call.
Referee says it counts.
And just when you think you've got the game in hand, as happened so many times in athletics, they come through with a goal. Right here, a great shot past Barnett. He did the right thing, coming out, trying to stop it, but he got the angle, and all of a sudden, fans, it's 2-2, and as they say, a whole new soccer game.
And it comes at 89-36. Redfern with his second goal of the game and his third of the season.
Who would have thought that?
So many times this year, the Minnesota Kicks, several times after scoring a goal, have had sort of a mental lapse. I think possibly with a few seconds left in the game, they had that same mental lapse, and they let the defense open up just a bit much.
They tap it back to Bolton, and it looks like we're going into overtime.
Who was it? Housie Hall used to say baseball was a game of inches, and
yes.
I guess soccer's a game of seconds.
That's right.
That goal again from Redfern at 89-36, and the time has run out. We go to overtime in a 2-2 soccer match, and who would have thought it about 13 minutes ago?
Well, it looked like the game was going to be over with, and then all of a sudden that mental lapse, which happens so many times, and here we are tied up, and we'll be going into overtime. That's the end of regulation time. We will be going into sudden death overtime following these messages.
Just when it looked like Minnesota had victory number 8 in their back pocket, 26-year-old, 5'11", 168-pound Jimmy Redfern from Britain, who played last year with the Washington Diplomats, had different ideas. And he rammed one past Jeff Barnett, and the official time of the goal is 89-25. An assist on the play to number 18, Victor Moreland, and it was 2-2. And now we go to sudden death overtime. This overtime period is divided into two 7.5-minute segments. And if they get past the 7.5-minute mark, they will then change, and it remains scoreless, they will then change goals. And if they go another 7.5 minutes scoreless, they will then go to a shootout.
Oh, yeah.
And seems like our television games have a knack of drawing this kind of a finish.
Oh, I love this kind of a finish.
I was talking to Freddie Goodwin today, Bob, and I asked him if he thought that Minnesota was psyched up with the...
Are you psyched up as you check the television screen there?
I don't think Freddie's thinking about what's standing to his left at this moment. However, I might be thinking about what's standing to his... No.
I asked if they were psyched up with the shootouts because, of course, they've yet to win one, and he said no, they take them as they come, and the players are pretty confident that if they have a shootout, they'll win one. And I just hope he's right if it does go into a shootout.
At this moment, the momentum would have to be with the Tulsa Roughnecks. The crowd is behind them. They've scored 2 goals in this game already, and they didn't score a goal at all in the past 3 games, so they have to be extremely excited and very up at this moment.
Absolutely. Minnesota having control of the ball after the Roughnecks had won the toss and elected to take the kickoff. Butcher with a sliding tackle jars the ball free. It's to Moran, who replaced Ace-Nit Solenque. Just mark this thing up right now.
I'll let you know in about 15 minutes, Rob.
Okay, Willie. He is banged by Brian Smith, and a foul called against Smith. It'll be a Minnesota free kick from the spot of the foul. Check it. Correction. The ball goes over to Tulsa. Foul called against Willie. Tulsa free kick. as the wind continues to gust here in Oklahoma. Long free kick. Jumping header by Litt. Ball high in the air. Jumping header from Ken Mitchell. Barnett with a save off a volley from Moreland. As Bob Bruce has said, the advantage definitely with Tulsa at this particular point. They, I believe, overall outplayed the Minnesota Kicks in the last 15 minutes of the match and have done so thus far in the first 2 minutes of the overtime.
And with the switch of goals, they also have about a 25 to 35 mile an hour gust of wind behind them. That'll help the ball.
Brian Smith, number 14, in the back heel. And a scoring pass to the side, back to the defense. Charlie Mitchell off the thigh of Steve Litt. Drives it to center. There Willie is pushed from behind, but no call. Coming past Twellman was Redfern to deflect the ball. Here's a deflection that goes right to Barnett. Fortunately.
Boy, Tulsa's hungry. They're very quick on the ball, and they're being very aggressive, right?
Now, Trevor, what would they be saying to each other there, Barnett?
It wouldn't really be worth repeating on the air, Bob, but if I can clean it up a little, I'd be saying, don't do that again, Jeff. And Jeff would say, okay, I won't. Or words to that effect.
We'll have to check with the participants after the game to see if that's actually what did happen. Blocking the pass is Twombly. His pass downfield taken by Alan Willie. Turns it over for Chico Hamilton. Deflected by the Roughnecks. Brian Smith starting back for them. Ball is deflected by Chico Hamilton, then to Twombly, then to Hamilton. It goes back into that penalty box area, and Tony Want controls it for the Kicks.
Yeah, you have to remember this too, that seriously, the goalkeeper is constantly directing play verbally from where he sees. He's facing the field, and he'll call the players by their names. He'll tell them, leave it, or to your right, or let it go, Steve. And they'll use their names so that he can actually direct the play. But the goalkeeper is very instrumental in being able to see what's happening and telling them all at the same time.
Alan Merrick, correction at midfield for Alan Willie. For the wing. Chico Hamilton tips it. It's blocked. Sliding tackle, ball across the touchline, Minnesota throw in.
Yeah, notice Hamilton's back on the left now. They've gone to an offensive situation. They're really trying to score a goal, obviously, because it's become sudden death.
Tim Twellman with the ball for Minnesota. Makes the pass to Fletcher. Now for Moran on the wing. Can he get it towards across the touchline? He does. Crossing it. Bolton has it.
3:03 left in the first sudden death overtime. Tulsa 2, Minnesota 2.
The Tulsa goals both by Redfern. The Minnesota goals by Ron Futcher and Alan Willie. And the one by Willie was a picture goal. Here they come. Look out. They tip it over and a shot and a goal, and it's all over. And Tulsa wins in overtime.
We can see on the replay coming up here, Tulsa continually was putting pressure on Jeff Barnett, and here they get the ball, and it looked as if possibly he would miss it, but right here just gets a tip on it, and it goes in, Trevor.
Skateric, number 15, is the victim of the hugs, and I believe he is the one who got the goal. And so the Minnesota Kicks will not set a new North American Soccer League record, at least this time around, of consecutive wins. They have seen their win streak come to an end here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And is this crowd excited about this one? And that's the story here tonight, as Tulsa comes from 2 goals down in the second half to defeat our Minnesota Kicks on a score of 3-2. Join us again on Saturday, June 17th at 9:30 when KSTV Sports will bring you the Minnesota Kicks against the Seattle Sounders live from the Kingdome Stadium in Seattle, Washington. For now, it's good night from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And now, the the speed, the stars, and the action of the North American Soccer League on Roughnecks Soccer 78. Tonight, live from Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. It's the first round of the NASL playoffs as the Minnesota Kicks meet the Roughnecks from Tulsa.
He has 9 goals and 8 assists in the year. He is from South Africa. He is number 11. He is the forward for the Kicks. From Glasgow, Scotland, 2 goals and 7 assists for number 7.
Roughnecks Soccer 78 is also brought to you by the Rainbow Baking Company, makers of Rainbow Bread, Roman Meal, Rainbow Cakes, Earth Grains Bread, and fine Danehart Danish pastry. And by the Getty Refining and Marketing Company and your neighborhood Skelly dealer.